All right, well, let's look at the other side of the coin right now, because I'm pretty sure the post-mortem for Real Madrid's failure of a season has already begun. But I want to bring it back to last summer now, specifically the Club World Cup. You'll remember that Real Madrid went out to PSG in the semi-final. Now, I only bring this back up, guys, because Real Madrid took this tournament seriously. You do remember Jude Bellingham was in need of surgery. They postponed the surgery so that he could take part in this. They made it all the way to the semi-finals. We've talked about the issues that we have seen Chelsea have. We talked about some issues that PSG were showing at the beginning of the season, mainly in the Champions League. Of course, they were able to get it right. But now looking at Real Madrid and the fracaso of a season that we have seen by their standards, did the failure start from this tournament? Has it affected them negatively?
It's difficult to say, because on the one hand, you want to think, not having a club tournament, certainly of this stature in the summer, you wanted to see how it would impact not just Real Madrid, but every single club.
Yeah.
But you look at where PSG are right now. You look at where Bayern Munich, albeit going out to PSG.
But everyone says that the League is a bit more manageable than what Real Madrid have to.
They say the same thing about the Bundesliga too.
Well, to that point, in La Liga, certainly from a Real Madrid perspective, you're judged in comparison to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So we can make any excuses we want and kind of try to paint Ligue 1 or the Bundesliga however we want. Regardless, Bayern Munich did not fare, Real Madrid did not fare well in comparison to PSG, to Bayern Munich, or to Barcelona. However you want to cut it. Now, if Real Madrid take that summer's tournament as importantly as quite clearly they did, and comes back to haunt them, that's on them. That is entirely on them. Let's also not forget that not just this season, but last season, they were also disappointing by their own relative standards. And there was no World Cup to blame season before this one.
But did this just add to their problems?
I think Real Madrid are kind of making some new problems for themselves over the last few weeks. It has been a disappointing season on the back of another. And that, I think, going 2 seasons back to back, has called for a lot of questions around everything to do with Real Madrid, whether it's Florentino Perez and whether we want to put in Xavi Alonso or Vinicius Jr. or Kylian Mbappe. Whoever we decide to put it on, there are questions that need to be answered. Real Madrid have only given more questions over the last few weeks in terms of how they have unraveled, certainly in terms of the culture of the club, the discipline of the players, as to how and why these last 2 seasons have been as disappointing as they have been.
Kirk, what do you think?
Listen, using the Club World Cup is a bit of a reach. Chelsea have struggled. Manchester City have struggled. They struggled in these tournaments as well. There is a certain tax when it comes to the Bundesliga and Ligue 1. That's a reality. That's why Dembélé can afford not to play League and could save himself for the Champions League. And Luis Enrique has the luxury of knowing that they could run away with the league, and his best player, the current Ballon d'Or, can just concentrate on the Champions League. There's a certain tax that maybe La Liga teams can't afford. Look at Atletico, who were 20-some-odd points away from Barcelona, and they eliminated Barcelona in the Copa del Rey and the Champions League. But that's not the problem for Real Madrid. Not the Club World Cup, not their form in La Liga. They've lost La Ligas to Barcelona before, in the same breath as them winning in the same season a Champions League. This Real Madrid problem stems much further than on the field. It's like a ever-running episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It really is. It's one after the other here. It's Xabi Alonso comes in, but he wasn't picked by Florentino. He wasn't his first choice. And then it's Xabi Alonso trying to impregnate his style, trying to impose his will, and being undermined by Florentino. You substitute, whether it was right or wrong, a player like Vinny Jr., and he comes off bitching and moaning, and then he apologizes to everybody but the manager. And he is backed by Florentino and by the board. And then you see them pick the side of the footballers. And then you see a captain, team captain like Valverde, who refuses to play right back for Xabi Alonso, who refuses to go into a game, Champions League against Olympiacos, for Xabi Alonso. And then it's Jude Bellingham. And then it's Kylian Mbappe choosing which and when he plays and what type of game he plays. And he's more concentrated on the individual performances and the stats that go with the individual performances than being ready for the long stretch. And it's this player here and that player there and Dani Carvajal and the history he had with Arbeloa. It's everybody before the club. And it was never like that. You had players who would bow down literally to the club that were the stature of Cristiano Ronaldo. Real Madrid waited for no player, whether Hugo Sanchez, Zinedine Zidane, Cristiano Ronaldo, or whoever you may think deserved the respect a la Sergio Ramos. That is not who Real Madrid is. But this version of Real Madrid, for whatever reason, and you can go back to seasons ago when they refused to go to the Ballon d'Or ceremony because Vinny Jr. did not win it. It is not the Real Madrid that we grew up with. And that, to me, is the reason. Not their poor form in the Club World Cup or what they've not done in La Liga. It's everything else that trickles onto the field.
What was it that you said last week, that they've officially overtaken Manchester United as the most toxic club in the world right now?
Let's go United. We're getting out of that.